Hi, and welcome to Inside the Huddle. I'm Geoff Stoute, joined by Central Catholic head coach Tommy Minton. We're here at Central Catholic High School, where in Week 5 the Eagles will face Centerville in a District 7-1A contest. Central Catholic enters this week after defeating Lafayette Christian 50-20 a week ago. The Eagles got their usual offensive output from Stefano Garisco, who rushed for over 215 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Blake Byrne tossed for 66 yards, and while Greg Leger had 2 catches for 70 yards. On defense, the squad rebounded from a tough outing against Ascension Catholic a week before and limited the Lafayette Christian to 152 yards. This season, Garisco has over 900 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns, Byrne 347 yards and 4 scores and 2 picks, and Leger leads the squad in receiving with 177 yards and a score. Coach, obviously, still undefeated this season. Obviously, a great thing. You got to be pleased, especially how y'all started off district last week against Lafayette Christian.
Well, definitely. I mean, anytime you've played four and you've won four, you should be happy. And the thing that makes me the happiest, though, is the fact that we're making progress in the areas we need to improve in. And to me, a football season is not a sprint; it's a marathon, and you got to pace yourself for the long haul, and hopefully you keep getting better each week, and you can't get stagnant and rest on last week's performance.
Right. Obviously this week, hit the road, go to Centerville, a newcomer to District 7-1A and to varsity football as a whole. I guess talk a little bit about them and, what you've seen from them.
Well, I mean, Centerville, this is their first year of varsity competition. We've played them in junior high football the last couple of years here at Central, and they've started the year 3-1. And anytime it's your first time uh, in varsity competition, and you can start it on a positive note like that, you got to feel good about yourself. And I know their community is really, really behind the program. They're doing a good job of supporting them, and it's a road game, it's a district game, and I don't care if they've played football for 1 year or 25 years. You look at film and you see a program that's doing a lot of good things, and we got to be ready to play football.
What do they do offensively and defensively as far as scheme?
They run a lot of spread schemes on offense. He in the films we have, he's gotten in. I think at one point we counted about 22 different formations, and he's using his formations well to try to hide some weak points and take advantage of his strong points. So the big thing with defensively that comes to mind first is we got to line up correctly to the different formations. And I think we have some good matchups up front. If we line up correctly, we can control the line of scrimmage and do some things to hurt them. But we got to get lined up to all their different sets first off.
And defensively?
Defensively, they're a five-man front, which, that's a strength of theirs. With us being a running team, they're going to try to take the run game away from us with Stefano naturally. And, we got to be prepared for a physical game up front.
So, all right, Coach. Well, I appreciate it, and good luck to you this week.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
In other Week 5 action, Patterson will be at home against Kaplan. Berwick will also host Erath, and Morgan City will hit the road for the first time this season when they travel to face Westminster. As far as Patterson's matchup, Patterson comes into this contest against Kaplan. It's their District 8-3A opener. Patterson has won two in a row, and most recently a 14 victory against Ellender at home a week ago. In that game, Sebastian Charles again led the offense at 121 yards and 2 scores passing and an interception, and he rushed for 128 yards as well. Tristan Osama actually led the squad in rushing with 134 yards and 3 touchdowns, while DJ Jones had 51 yards and a score receiving. In the season, Charles leads the squad in passing with 655 yards passing and 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He also has rushed for 261 yards. Osama isn't far behind with, he leads the squad in rushing with 281 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jones is the leading receiver with 13 catches for 189 yards and a touchdown. The Lumberjacks get some good news this week. They welcome back Michael Jones and Shea Ragas, who have been out this season so far due to injury, and that definitely is a big boost on offense and will help the squad defensively too. This week in Kaplan, they face a squad who's 0-1 in district. They lost 20-16 to E.D. White a week ago. They come into this game 2-2 overall. They run a wing T offense. Coach Chad Blanchard said their fullback runs the ball well, and their offensive line comes off the ball well. And he said they're hard-nosed and physical. On defense, they run a 3-4 scheme with zone coverage in the secondary. And they do a good job stopping the run, Blanchard said. In Berwick, the Panthers will host their second home game of the season whenever they bring in when Erath comes to town. Erath is 2-2 overall and 1-0 in district. They beat North Vermilion a week ago, 33-19. Meanwhile, Berwick won their second straight contest with a 26-12 victory against Franklin. It's the first time in quite some time Berwick has won both two district games and won back-to-back games. So things are looking really good in Berwick right now. And Coach Craig Brody said his squad is gaining confidence every day, and just a lot of good things going on. In last week's win, Colin Louvier led the Berwick offense. He had 212 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, and 118 yards and 2 scores on the ground. And the receiving department, Audwin Williams led the squad with 10 catches for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Keenan Jones had 2 catches for 71 yards and a score. This season, Louvier leads the squad both rushing and passing. He has 174 yards and a score rushing, and 444 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Williams leads the squad in receiving with 22 catches for 415 yards and 6 touchdowns. This week against Erath, Coach Craig Brody said they'll face a team that runs a split-back veer and features Elijah Mitchell as their main offensive threat. He's a junior, but he's already broke the school record in rushing for the Bobcats. Coach Brody said the offense they'll be facing isn't a difficult one, but Erath does a good job running it. On defense, Coach Brody said his squad has been quote, unbelievable this season, in their performance. Meanwhile, Morgan City will hit the road. They're 4-0 for the first time since it's been a couple of years since they've been 4-0, and the first time since 2011 they've won. They're looking to notch their first 5-win season since 2011. And the first time the team has started 5-0, it's been even longer than that. So a lot of good things going on from Morgan City. A week ago, they defeated Cohen 70-6 in their homecoming matchup. In that game, a lot of offense. Malik Phillips and Kedrick Scott led the squad. Phillips had 89 yards rushing and 2 scores, and Scott had 83 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Trey DeRuin and Clifton Escort each added a touchdown, while Ethan Ciano caught a touchdown pass from quarterback Abram Hartley, who completed 3 of 7 passes for 48 yards and a score. On defense, Gage Groh had 2 fumble recoveries for touchdown. One he returned to the end zone, one he recovered in the end zone. The Tigers defense continued to put up impressive numbers on defense. They limited Cohen to minus 25 yards rushing and 29 yards total offense. This season, the Tigers have limited opponents to 303 yards of offense in 4 games, including just 64 yards rushing in 4 games. Phillips leads the squad with 271 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns, and Scott has 231 and 3 scores, and Ciano 226 and 3 scores. This season, Hartley's passed for 159 yards and 3 scores, and Makai Richard is the leading receiver with 71 yards and 2 scores. This week, they'll travel to Opelousas to face Westminster Christian, who competes in District 5 1A and is 3-1 this season. Last week, they defeated Ascension Christian 40-20. Their lone loss this season came in Week 3 when they lost to Dunham. That's another edition of Inside the Huddle.